What is going on, guys? I am Matt O'Leary, back with another video, and today what I want to do is talk about 3 outside the box options for the New York Jets at pick number 13. The NFL draft is 1 week from today. 1 week from today, man. I am amped up. I'm so excited. Going to be live streaming all 3 days of the NFL draft, by the way, on Jets Talk 24/7 for the Talking Jets draft party. Myself, Ryan, and Greenbean, so make sure to check it out. And also check out the new Talking Jets YouTube channel. Okay, so for the most part, if you asked Jet fans who they want at pick 13, you're going to get either an offensive tackle, whether it be Skoronski, Broderick Jones, Paris Johnson, whoever, which one of their preference, or Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I've made it pretty clear that I would prefer to go with an offensive tackle. I'm good with any of those 3 guys. I don't think Peter Skoronski is going to be there. I think there's maybe a slight chance Paris Johnson's there, although that feels like a lock to Tennessee if they don't move up for a quarterback. But I'm more than okay with Broderick Jones at 13. I think he's someone who could come in and play right away. That is my preferred route. If they were to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba, it would be exciting. I would absolutely get it. It's not my preference per se, but there is still a hole at the wide receiver position, so I would understand if they went that route, even though it's not my preference. But that's not what I want to cover in this one. Most of the time, it's offensive tackle or Jackson Smith and Jigba. So what I want to do instead is do 3 outside the box options that are still like somewhat realistic and talk through the pros and the cons of them. Again, we're a week away now from the NFL draft, so I think it's good to look at options, what the Jets could do. And I just wanted to give you some other options if they don't go this way. So the first player that jumps out as a somewhat outside the box option to me is Calijah Kancey. Calijah Kancey from Pittsburgh plays on the interior defensive line, and he is an absolute beast. He is a beast. He's a smaller interior defensive lineman, and being a smaller interior defensive lineman from Pitt, he unfortunately gets the Aaron Donald comparison a lot. And I say unfortunately because I don't think that's fair to anyone to compare to one of the best, like legitimately one of the best defensive players of all time. But I love his game. I really do. Out of the outside the box options, this is my favorite one. He's 6'1", 281, which again is a little bit small for someone who plays on the inside. But his speed off the line of scrimmage is insane. He ran a 4.67 40-yard dash, which is 99th percentile. Again, explosiveness off the ball is without a doubt his most impressive strength. And in 2022, he racked up 7.5 sacks, 14.5 tackles for a loss, 47 pressures from an interior guy. That's really nice. And 30 hurries. The thought of putting him next to Quinnen Williams really gets me giddy. A defensive line that looks like Carl Lawson, Quinnen Williams, Calijah Kancey, and JFM. The pass rush from that could be absolutely deadly. And I would understand it. I mean, we talked about Robert Saleh, and what he loves is the pass rush and the defensive line. So if he went on the interior, I get it. And especially for a guy like him, the Jets have been quiet so far on the interior defensive line. They brought back Solomon Thomas. They brought in Quentin Jefferson. But other than that, it's Quinnen Williams and those 2 guys. They need more depth. And whether they want to do it in the first round, it would be a little surprising, which is why I put it on the outside the box options. But I would be expecting at some point the Jets to come away with the interior guy. I think most in mocks put an interior guy in somewhere in the mid rounds in the 2nd to 4th or 5th round. But who knows? Maybe they want to go early and they just like Calijah Kancey that much more, and he's ranked higher than some of these other guys. And is there an outside chance all 3 tackles are gone? Sure, you could absolutely spin it that way. There could be a team that wants a tackle. A team could trade with the Texans even and move up in front of the Jets to get a tackle. So it's not impossible. Next up on my list is Lucas Van Ness, the edge rusher from Iowa. Now, I don't think the Jets should go edge. I don't, but they've done things before in the past where they've had positions that look like a strength or look solid and then continue to add onto it. And I just talked about it with Calijah Kancey. Again, we know how much Robert Saleh values the pass rush. And we've seen the San Francisco 49ers take defensive linemen draft after draft after draft, and that's how they build their team and through the trenches. And again, I would argue that it would be more valuable to draft an offensive side of the trench. It's a defensive-minded head coach. And I mean, yes, right now you have Carl Lawson, JFM, Huff, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens. It's deep this year, and it will be deep this year, but there's a chance that it won't be after this season. Again, I want to reiterate, I think the Jets should be picking for someone who could be an immediate impact guy right away, and not that Lucas Van Ness would not be an immediate impact guy, but it would just be a position that they're good at. But Carl Lawson's contract is done after this year. JFM is a deal that they could get out of after this deal, and Bryce Huff would be on an expiring deal and be a UFA at the end of the year. So, like, could they lose all three? There's an outside chance, yes, and then it's just Johnson and Clemens, so you would need more beyond this year. He has really good speed off the edge as well, 4.58 speed and a 40-yard dash. That's really impressive at 6'5", 278. He had 9 sacks and 46 pressures. Again, I don't necessarily think I would go this route. I do like the player a lot. I do like the fit in the Jets system, more so than someone like a Nolan Smith, who, spoiler alert, doesn't make this list because Nolan Smith's going to be more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, where Lucas Van Ness is a 4-3 defensive end edge rusher. I do like him. I wouldn't be mad at getting this player because I think he's going to be good, but not my preference. And coming in at number 3 on my outside the box option, again, something that I've talked about that I wouldn't necessarily do, but maybe the Jets would do it, Dalton Kincaid, tight end. Now, as I said, I did a whole video on why I wouldn't take a tight end in the first round, whether it be Meyer or Dalton Kincaid or Luke Musgrave in the second round, or, you know, any of those guys, because I am a believer in Jeremy Ruckert. They have 2 veteran tight ends on the roster that you can't get out of this year. So wouldn't that kind of just be overkill? But a couple of things. One, Joe Douglas did mention how good this tight end class, which he's right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a bad tight end class. It isn't. It's very good. There's a lot of depth in this class as well, and maybe they just view him as a pass catcher, right? And then it's like, we want to get as many good pass catchers in here as humanly possible, and if that's the case and they take Lucas Van Ness, they could find a role for him as a big slot. He's someone who, yes, can he block? Sure, but he's put him in the big slot, kind of like what the Dolphins do with Mike Gesicki and, you know, other tight ends around the league. You know, they play in the slot and, you know, could do some damage out there. That would be the same thing that Dalton Kincaid can do. Last year, he had 890 yards and 8 touchdowns. He also had 8 touchdowns the year prior, so 16 touchdowns the last 2 years. Rodgers absolutely loves tight ends in the red zone. So if they view Kincaid as someone who is miles better than Uzama, Conklin, and Ruckert, maybe that's what they'd want to do, and they add another tight end. I mean, we've seen Rodgers recently have success with a guy like Robert Tonyan. Tonyan had like double-digit touchdowns not that long ago, which, is he a great tight end? No, but if you can catch the football and have size and play in the red zone, Rodgers is going to like you. So maybe that's what they would do instead of going after the quote-unquote need at wide receiver. I know after losing Elijah Moore and potentially losing Corey Davis, people will say, well, the Jets definitely need to bring in a wide receiver. And that's kind of where I would be. I'd rather them go wide receiver, but there's a chance the Jets are like, hey, we just want pass catchers, man. And Dalton Kincaid is too good to pass up on. Again, not my preference, but those are my 3 outside the box options. What do you think? Did I miss anybody? Do you have an outside the box option? Let me know what you want the Jets to do at pick number 13. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.